Well, good morning and welcome to Buddha's in Your Landfill or Zen Live. We have a good show. I feel like Rachel Maddow. I'm pumped up, I'm fired up, ready to go, and I want to give you a good show. But we're going to, and also when I say Zen Live, Zen is primarily an awakening or aha or I see or wow, it all comes together. Bam. That's it. That's it. All the rest of it is pointing to that moment where I see or you see. So we're looking, when I say Zen Live, we're looking to see together as one. When we see together, there's only one seeing. It's not two C's, it's one C. So let's pick up where we left off yesterday. And we've been looking at the gateless gate. Remember when we came back from Hatteras, we were talking about the puzzle and the jigsaw puzzle being a metaphor for our urge to solve the puzzles of life. We either do it with a game or we're in real time with real puzzles. But at the same time, there's the puzzle. And the puzzle is the gateless gate, because this is a contradictory term. A gate has a gate. But what if the gate is gateless? What does that mean? It's a paradox. So we were looking at that yesterday as a passage, and I talked about my daughter. And the passage is, here's the puzzle. I'm in this puzzle. You could call it a recycled life, or Groundhog Day. The movie Groundhog Day, puzzle. You realize you're in a puzzle or a labyrinth when you are following tracks that you think you're going home, and you realize you're following your own tracks. You're going in a circle. You're on a treadmill like a hamster. That feeling of being recycled or caught in a tape loop, you see, is opens the possibility for the gateless gate. You either go through it or you just settle back and keep recycling yourself. So we've been looking at what this gateless gate is, because that is the only way out of the treadmill of the endless puzzle. And we talked about how if we want to change the external world, unlike what our culture tells us to do, we have to change our internal world, and the external world suddenly shifts and fits it. Like a GPS navigator, when you make a move, the map fits around you. On a flat map, the map never changes. You move. But on a GPS map, the world, reality, shifts around you. So you're always at the center. So that is kind of like a way of looking at the two ways of being in the world. So let's pick up today's puzzle. And I really want to dig into this idea of a metaphor. This is Joseph Campbell spent his whole life trying to explain metaphor. And he was never very successful. And why is it we can't understand metaphor? Art is metaphor. Religion is metaphor. We are metaphor. Everything is either, well, let me get into this. Why is it we can't understand metaphor? Well, metaphor is ambiguous. All right. A metaphor is two opposite values that are contradictory, like the gateless gate. That cancels each other out. The gateless gate. Is it a gate? It is a gate, but it's not a gate. You see how that, like the sign of two one-way signs going the opposite direction? It is a gate. It is not a gate. That's a metaphor. Gateless gate. Now, the world we live in is a thinking world. Think about it. Think outside the box. Thinking created everything. Thinking has Thinking operates on logic. And the logic goes all the way back to Aristotle. It's classical logic. And the basic logic that we use as our primary tool for making stuff and getting out of a fix is classical logic. And classical logic says A is A. This marker is this marker. This marker is not a ball of string. The marker is a marker, the string is a string, and the marker cannot be the string and the marker both at the same time. But if you read Alice in Wonderland, the marker changes into string and the string changes into marker. Or when you dream at night, the marker is the marker and the marker is the string and the string is the string and the string is the marker. It all gets ambiguous and mixed up in dream and in art, like Alice in Wonderland. You see, that's not classical logic. You can't analyze Alice in Wonderland to understand it. And you can't analyze a dream. It's all fluid. One minute you're a monkey, next everything is changing. There's no logical categories and definitions. So metaphor is the language of dream and art. So metaphor is the language of ambiguity. Ambiguity. Ambi means two. Guity. Classical logic, then, is what we think with. And classical logic, everything is an it. Everything is a thing. You can define everything and look it up in a dictionary. Everything has a definition. Everything is an it. Everything is third person. Third person means it. He, she, or it. He, she, or it. It's an object. That's the external world. And we believe that external world, we assume that is real, that all these its exist. This sofa exists as itself. The sofa can't be a lamp. The lamp can't be a sofa. Unless you take LSD. Okay. LSD was exciting. I haven't taken it, but LSD was exciting because it broke down the classical logic of thinking and made the world fluid and ambiguous. It could be terrifying or exhilarating. So let's get into this logic here and see why the idea here is the tyranny of thinking, the tyranny of the it. Everything is an it, including me. I'm an it, you're an it, everything's an it. So if I'm an it, who am I? What am I? Well, then I have to look in my personal dictionary to find out who I am. Well, I'm an American, I live in Blackstone, that's an it, I'm here. There's a place and time, that's an it. I have a role, I'm a husband, that's it. I'm a retired, that's an it. Peel the onion skins of its. And then you get into values. Well, I'm feeling sad or I'm feeling happy, that's an it. And everything I say about myself in trying to answer the question, what am I, is an it. So everything is objective. But where's the first person? You know, you study grammar, you got first person and third person. First person is I. Third person is it. But when the first person becomes an it, where is the first person, you see? How does the first person, but the first person is where we live. But on the it map of our reality, Western materialism, there is no first person. It's like a ghost in the machine. I am a ghost. I can't find myself on the map because the first person is not an it. You see the problem? The first person is not an it. It's the first person. The first person means one without a second. If there's a second person, the second person is an it. And to this other person, I'm an it. So now you got two it's. You're an it. No, you're an it. No, you're an it. No, you're an it. First person is denied. So that's why we get into these conflicts. Marriages with reality and everything is because it's just a bunch of it's looking for the missing first person. Who am I? What am I? That's where metaphor comes in. So let's look at, I was going to talk about, Facebook as a metaphor, but I thought I got a little sidetracked when I was thinking about it, into marriage. Now, we all understand marriage. Marriage is a metaphor, or it's not a metaphor. When it's not a metaphor, you get into conflict of two it's. One partner says, you're an it. In other words, you're wrong. Or you should do this, or you should do that, or you're wrong. And the other person, and so you're an it. And your partner says, no, you're an it. I'm right. You're an it. Now you got two it's. And the two it's are going around and around. Well, should I started out wrong? Anyway, it's the two it's. Well, anyway, that's my snake eating itself. So when you get two it's locked in combat, like two tomcats, it's a vicious cycle or circle, and it will keep increasing if, like you stick a mic up against an amplifier. Wow, 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 you're divorced. Or wow, 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 smackdown. Or whatever. But these little whirlpools are constantly being created in relationship. It doesn't have to be marriage. In relationship, when you get two it's looking for first person. They can't find it. Because neither one will give up their it. You see? Neither one will give up their it. Because if I'm an it, if I see myself as an it, an opinion is an it, a belief is an it, a value is an it. Everything is an it if you are conscious of it. You see that? Everything is an it if you're conscious of it. It's an object, either outside or inside. It's an it. And if I identify with that, then I have made myself into something. And the something then is in relationship with another something, and both are defined. And they're going around and around. What are they looking for? They're looking for first person. I. But they can't find it because the I is divided into two. It's. Okay, so let's get... all right, so metaphor. Okay, how does metaphor come to the rescue? Well, there's dead metaphors and there's living metaphors. So a dead metaphor is an object. Or it might be, we use metaphors in our language all the time. Oh, wow, you're a lion on Facebook. That's a metaphor. You are a lion on Facebook. You can really roar. All right, that's a metaphor. The metaphor is you are a lion and you are not a lion. The gateless gate. You're a lion, but you're not a lion. I mean, you're not a real lion. You've got a mane and all that. You're not a real lion, but you are a lion. You are a lion. You're not a lion. Now that's already that is what you'd call a language metaphor. It's not a living metaphor because a living metaphor has to have your body in it. It has to be real time. Has flesh and blood. It has to be breathing, you see. It has to be now. It's not a language. Although metaphors are used in language, poetry, so forth. All right. So a metaphor would be, in a marriage, for instance, the metaphor would be I am you, I am not you. All right, so in the metaphor, if with marriage, we call this the marriage made in heaven. A marriage made in heaven, or a sacred marriage, or a successful marriage, or a marriage in love, based in love, would be a marriage that is a living metaphor. It is a living metaphor because the marriage creates a we that contains two eyes, each of which see the other as an it. I see you as an it. I see my wife as an it. There she is. I observe her. And she sees me as an it. There I am. Here I am. You see. But in the marriage, when in the logic of relationship, the classical logic would say, you are you and I am me, but I'm not you and you're not me. I'm a me and you're a me. I'm an it and you're an it. We're separate. We could say separate but equal. Or we compromise or do whatever. But there is no we there because each one is a separate it. So how does the two separate its become a we? Well, that is when you make this, when you get married, you're going through a welding ceremony. Two separate individuals, two its, are welded together by God as a we, but they're still separate. So they're separate. They're still two people, two separate individuals, two eyes, but at the same time, they vow to become and commit and surrender to the we. Now, the we is a living metaphor because it is ambiguous. It contains the two opposites, the two eyes, as one, yet there's still two. That's ambiguous. Is it one? Yes, it's one. Is it two? Yes, it's two. But that's impossible. You see, you can't be one and two at the same time. That's not logical. But the metaphor, the logic of ambiguity, says it is possible but it is not possible. So everything the law of ambiguity or the law of the metaphor says is paradoxical. Yes, it's possible. It is not possible. Yet it is possible. So it holds these two opposites together. Now listen to this. It holds the two opposites together like a battery holds the positive and negative poles, or a magnet. Take a battery. If you look at a battery, you got the positive end and the negative end. It's written right on it. Boom, boom. So the battery contains two opposites. The battery then is a metaphor for a metaphor. The battery then contains the two opposites, and this containing the two opposites generates energy that is available for you if you put the battery in a flashlight. You put the battery in a flashlight, there's energy in there, and you can use it to light the room. So a metaphor, a living metaphor, contains energy by holding the opposites together in a container, and it goes wong, 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 and you plug it in, it goes vroom. When you plug the battery in, you release the energy. So in a marriage, you have this container of two opposite energies, like the positive and the male and female, positive and negative, are contained in the battery of a marriage, and that energy must be released. It wants to be released. And it's going to be released because the irony here is that this tension of opposites creates an urge to become one. In other words, you've got the two in there, and they're and the commandment of life is let there be one. So it wants to become one. And the two ways it's going to become one is by creating something or through violence. Now, a violent So all violence in this context is the failure of creativity, and creativity is love. So we can expand this a little bit beyond marriage and just see that when you have a container of two opposite forces, the energy wants to restore unity. The energy wants to restore unity. And so it wants to be used. It wants to be creative. It wants to create art. It wants to create babies. It wants to clean the house. It wants to do stuff creatively. That is the creative outlet of the duality into the one. Or, if that fails, then violence will happen. One or the other is going to happen. Either you're going to create something in your union, joy, love, and this, or it's going to end up in a violent expression to eliminate the other in order for this to become the one. See, there has to be one. So you either create a new one, which is a we, or you eliminate the other partner and you're the one. So all violence, these tomcat fights, are the fight in a relationship for one or the other of the polarities to become the one. Or there is diplomacy or a creative solution or a single idea that is created that contains where both get to be the one, you see? So it either goes to a creative idea, which you could call in a marriage as a we. That would be when the couple suddenly become one and they operate as one. If you notice, and I know we all have this experience, if you see a couple fighting and you try to intervene and take the side of one, you might find that they both turn on you as one. See? So anyway, so I hope you get a sense of what I'm saying here. So let me get back to, if we have enough time here, maybe I'll leave this till tomorrow. But also, I realized today that Facebook is a metaphor. Facebook is a gateless gate. Why is Facebook a gateless gate? Because Facebook is a metaphor where, in Facebook, you're in it, and to you, I'm in it. So there we got two it's here. Yet when I engage in Facebook in the relationship, I'm an I. I'm first person. So I'm both first person, I'm writing, and what I write is an it. You see, so I am writing in Facebook, and I can see myself writing. I can see my words, that's an it. You see my words at the same time I see them, that's an it. But at the same time, you're an I, either writing or looking at me as an it. So if this is looking at, since we're on Facebook, there's you there as an I, a first person, you're looking at me as an it, and I'm a first person speaking to you as an it, although I can't see it right now. So this is a relationship of first person and third person, and the Facebook as a form holds us together. Now, there's a choice, a crossroads here in Facebook. I can either use Facebook to maintain and support my opinion, which is myself as an it, and now you have an opinion or an it, and now we're going to be two its, and we're going to have it out, wow, 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 and we're going to fight it out for whose opinion is right, and that thread could go on for days. So we can look at Facebook as a combat zone for its, and opinion being an it, my opinion, I'm my opinion, and you're your opinion, and there has to be one opinion. There can't be two truths. There can only be one truth, so I'm going to battle you, and so I can be the last one standing. Or it can be a creative relationship in which the give and take of the opinions reveals and discovers a larger understanding. And that would be the we. That would be the aha. That would be the satori of Zen. That would be the gateless gate where you suddenly come to I didn't see that. We're both right. And we're both wrong. That's the gateless gate. I'm right and I'm wrong. You're right and you're wrong. What does that mean? That means there is a larger understanding that contains us both. And that is the single idea that we discover, which breaks us out of the tyranny of our own it, you see. It breaks us out of the vicious cycle of two its fighting itself to the death, you see. It can go either to an exhaustion, I quit Facebook, all I do is fight. Or, wow, I really discovered something. I see something I didn't see before. And we thank our enemy, the opposing opinion, as a means to greater self-understanding and liberation from my own it, you see. That's why Jesus says, love your enemy. If you love your enemy, you can become a larger self, as an expanded self, an awakened self, you see. So let's leave it there. I hope you're able to follow and get a better understanding of Facebook and marriage. I'll see you at Martini Live.